How's it going, everybody? Clint Searcy here, and I wanted to talk to you today about one of my new favorite toys. This is the Gibson Min-eTune system. I've installed it on my Les Paul. I've also installed it on my SG back here, which has a tremolo. It works pretty good for that too. I do have a few complaints, but all in all, I think it works really well. Just like you, if you're watching this, you've probably watched some other videos about this and see the complaints that people have about this system. Most of the complaints that I'm noticing are from people who really either haven't used it or haven't used it much. There's one very famous video of a guy trying to get one to tune and it just won't work, and that's because he's doing it wrong. That's probably the most typical complaint I see is, well, it just doesn't work. Well, it just does work too, actually, if you understand the learning curve, which is to say, you don't tune this by pushing the button and banging on the strings until it's in tune. That's not what you do, and that's what I keep seeing people do. Here's how you do this. Push the button. All the LEDs turn red. I'm going to do this upside down so you can see what it's doing. When it says red, it's asking you to play those strings. Okay? So we play them all. And it starts trying to tune, right? And it almost always grabs the first 4 strings pretty quickly, and then the B and the E string, the high E string, it'll usually ask for that again. Now you see that the B and the E are still lit. It's not asking you to restrum the guitar, it's asking you to individually play those strings. So we'll play the B. It turned green and it got it. Now we'll play the high E. That turns green. When it gets all of them green, it blinks a couple times and shuts off because it's done. And that's it. You don't sit here and bang, bang, bang away on it. It's never going to work that way. Another thing that I think I've found is that if the amp is up real loud and you've got, big Marshall kicking behind you, shaking the windows, it seems to me that confuses this thing. It's better off if you mute the guitar and let it do its tuning acoustically and then try and fire it back up. Another complaint that I see, and this is the most juvenile thing I think I've seen, is, well, I don't need one of them things. I can tune my own guitar. Well, you can't retune your guitar faster than this thing can do it. And it's really handy for me, for a guy like me that does a lot of work at home in a studio. It's really handy for me to be able to retune the guitar into alternate tunings quickly. If I've got an idea going on and I don't want to have to spend 100 years figuring out different tunings. I can try this one, I can try that one, I can try this one, and settle on what I want to use. Another complaint is that people are afraid that if they're playing it live on stage and the battery dies, they're going to have a big problem. Now, and I think that's a legitimate concern, but if I show you this, you can see on there's a little green light that says BAT. That's your battery power level, and it's green. As the battery starts to lose power, it'll turn yellow, and eventually it'll turn red when the battery is about to die. And frankly, I've had to charge this battery once in the 2 or 3 months I've had it, so it's not really a big concern to me. If it were a big concern to you and you wanted to play it live and have that concern, here's how hard it is to pull the battery. Keep a second battery somewhere, pop it in, that's it. That's all there is to it. It's just not a difficult thing to manage. If you can keep batteries in your stomp boxes and your tuners, you can keep it in this. That's the other thing. People that are saying, well, I don't need anything like that to tune my guitar, I can tune it without that stuff. Well, you're using a tuner to tune it, right? This isn't any different, except it's something turning the knobs. Now, I will say I have 2 main complaints about this thing, which is that the tuning system here has a limit on the frequency range that it can detect. Each one of these tuners has a frequency range, independent of the others. And if the note that you want to tune it to is outside that range, let's say you're trying to make a custom tuning and save it. If the note you're trying to tune it to is outside the range of that tuner, it won't do it. And I don't think they've really disclosed that to a lot of people. There's a popular Stephen Stills tuning that I was going to try and program into this system, you can't, because the string that I need to tune tunes up higher than the frequency range that it'll allow. Just to give you an example, let's say, for example, you wanted to tune the high E down to B and have 2 B strings, okay? You can't do that because B is too low for the frequency range assigned to the high E tuner. The other complaint I have is that if you don't attach these strings to the tuners exactly the way the Tronical manual tells you to do it, you will never get this thing to stay in tune. They will slip. They've got to go around this thing one time, notch, and then the nut on here gets screwed down on top of that and clamps it in place. To me, that's a little bit of a sloppy design. I would like to see them work on this and have that be a little bit more user-friendly, a little bit more elegant design would be handy for these. And I'll probably do something at some point, but the one that's on the Min-eTune and the G4 system, which is the newer system, it's still this kind of weird screw clamp system, and I'm not a big fan of that. I think that needs to be worked on. Something else I do like is the fact that it's so simple. The old robot guitars, I always thought were a cool idea, but I shied away from them because you had to have a proprietary bridge, a proprietary stop bar, the tuners, the wiring, everything. It was just such a huge system to go in a guitar. And I've played them, they sound fine, but to me, the amount of money I was going to be spending on it, it was just too limiting. Plus, you kind of had to like that guitar. This is a guitar that I love. If you love a 1985 Les Paul Studio, you can put this on it. I've put one on a 1988 Les Paul. This back here is a 2009 SG. They all fit. So it doesn't really lock you into the technology. If you later decide you don't like this, or you decide there's something better out there, you can swap it. It doesn't require you to drill out your tuner bushings or anything like that. It just bolts on, bolts back off. I like this a whole lot more than the older robot systems that Gibson was pushing for a little while. That said, it's just fantastic. I don't know. I'm sold. Tell me what you think in the comments. And subscribe. See you later.